Imagine walking through a flooded street while balancing on shoes almost half your height. One wrong step, and you're falling face first into mud, sewage, and probably horse poop. Now imagine doing this on purpose. Because during the Renaissance, rich women in Venice became obsessed with a fashion trend so ridiculous, it basically turned them into human giraffes. These shoes were called Chopines, and some were nearly 20 inches tall. That's not footwear anymore, that's construction equipment. And somehow, society looked at women struggling to stay upright on giant wooden stilts and thought, wow, how elegant. Honestly, human fashion has always been insane, but Chopines might be one of the craziest examples ever. Because these shoes didn't just hurt, they made walking feel like a dangerous side quest. And the weirdest part? The taller your shoes were, the richer you looked. So naturally, people kept making them taller, because humans can never leave anything normal. Now, weirdly enough, Chopines actually started as a smart idea. Back then, Venice was disgusting. The streets were muddy, flooded, crowded, and filled with garbage, animal waste, dirty canal water, rotting trash. And women's dresses were so long, they dragged directly across the ground. So people invented platform shoes to lift expensive clothing above the filth. Honestly, reasonable solution for about 5 seconds. Because rich people immediately turned it into a competition. The platforms got taller and taller and taller, until women were basically walking around on luxury stilts. At that point, practicality completely died. Now it was all about status. Because if your shoes made normal life impossible, it proved you were wealthy enough not to care. Poor people needed practical shoes. Rich people apparently preferred ankle warfare. And these things were huge. Some Chopines were made from cork, others from wood. Many were covered in velvet, silk, embroidery, lace, and jewels. Basically tiny portable thrones for your feet. But here's the problem. Human ankles were not designed for this nonsense. Modern high heels are already dangerous. Now imagine balancing on platforms taller than bowling pins while wearing layers of heavy Renaissance clothing. No grip, no support, no cushioning, just vibes and fear. And putting them on wasn't easy either. Women often needed servants just to get dressed. One maid holding the dress, another helping with balance. Because once the shoes were on, walking became an extreme sport. Most women had to take tiny, careful steps just to avoid collapsing. Some literally needed servants to hold them upright while walking outside. Not metaphorically, actually physically. Imagine your shoes being so ridiculous, you require a support team. And remember, Venice was full of bridges, slippery stone streets, mud, stairs, and water. Basically the worst possible place for skyscraper shoes. One bad step, and your entire bloodline is embarrassed. And these shoes weren't just difficult, they were painful. Your ankles constantly twisted trying to stabilize your body. Your calves burned non-stop from balancing on unstable platforms. Your posture became completely unnatural. And one bad fall could seriously injure you. Which was extra terrifying because Renaissance medicine was basically just guessing and prayer. All this suffering, just to look fashionable. But somehow, the inability to walk properly became part of the appeal. Seriously, the awkward wobbling movement caused by Chopines was seen as elegant and feminine, which means Renaissance society basically watched women struggle to stay balanced and thought, yes, perfect, more of that. Because the point wasn't comfort, the point was looking rich. If you could barely walk, it proved you weren't a worker. You were too wealthy for practical life. Imagine flexing your social status by becoming physically incompatible with stairs. That was Renaissance luxury. And honestly, this is where Chopines become more than just weird shoes. Because they physically controlled women's movement. You couldn't run, couldn't move quickly, couldn't walk independently. The shoes forced women to move slowly, carefully, delicately, which happened to match exactly what society expected wealthy women to be: quiet, graceful, fragile, and dependent. So the shoes didn't just symbolize status. They symbolized control. And the fear of falling must have been constant. Because fashion back then wasn't private, it was public performance. Everything about your appearance represented your family and social status. So tripping in Chopines wasn't just embarrassing, it was social humiliation. Imagine wobbling through Venice trying to look graceful, then suddenly collapsing sideways like a newborn deer, in front of everyone. Your servant desperately trying to catch you, while your dignity evaporates instantly. And the worst part? People would remember. Renaissance gossip traveled fast. By tomorrow, the entire city would know you fell off your ridiculous shoes in public. Honestly, some poor servant probably had the most stressful job in Venice, just spending all day trying to stop rich people from tipping over, getting paid almost nothing to prevent wealthy women from face-planting into Venetian canals, the unsung heroes of Renaissance Italy. And despite all this suffering, the trend kept getting worse, because humans are competitive. Once wealthy women realized taller shoes meant higher status, it became a fashion arms race. Oh, your shoes are 10 inches tall? Cute. Eventually, the platforms became so absurd that governments actually tried to limit them. Yes, real laws had to be made telling people to calm down with the giant shoes. That's how insane things got. But rich people ignored the rules anyway. Because rich people ignoring fashion laws is basically a historical tradition. And honestly, the shoes probably look surreal in real life. Long dresses often covered the platforms completely, so women appeared to glide unnaturally high above the ground. Especially in Venice's foggy streets, it must have looked almost ghost-like, like elegant haunted furniture floating through the city. And honestly, we still do this today. Painful heels, uncomfortable designer outfits, extreme beauty trends. The technology changes, humans don't. People will tolerate unbelievable discomfort if society rewards them for it. And that's what makes Chopines so fascinating. They weren't really about shoes. They were about status, about appearance, about looking important, even if it meant suffering every time you took a step. And maybe that's why Chopines still feel so bizarre today. But they were real. Real women actually walked through Venice balancing on giant wooden towers, trying desperately not to fall into sewage, all because society decided it looked elegant. Which, honestly, might be the most human thing ever. So the next time your shoes hurt your feet, just remember, at least you're not trying to cross Renaissance Venice on 20-inch death stilts. And if you thought that was bad, just wait until you hear about the next fashion trend we're covering. Because trust me, it gets worse. A lot worse. Make sure you're subscribed to Fashion Noir so you don't miss it. Because history's most painful fashion moments are just getting started.